I want to show you how I go over my daily reports and also my weekly reports, how I basically review and journal my trading. I'm using TradeZella for journaling, and that has a lot of cool features. You can see out here on the left. If I just go to dashboard, I have a lot of different information. And this is, I mean, if you're new to this, I'm just going to go over these different aspects. There's a million things you can do with this journaling software, so I'm not going to dive into everything. It's just to give you a nice brief overview. Up on the top here, the top bar, you have the net P&L, and that's for the selected period. So right now I'm looking at February 16 to February 20th. So that's the week that has just passed. As you can see on my two accounts that I'm trading at the moment, I have about $500 of profit. I've had a solid week. It definitely doesn't look like this every week, but these are the stats. And if you filter on different dates, you can just isolate your view to whenever you want to see it. I had an 83% trade win. That means out of all the trades that I took over this week, 83% of them were winners. You can see the numbers here: 5 winners, 1 loser. That was all of the trading, so 6 trades in a week. So I don't actually trade that much, which is also working for me. Now, when I look at a statistical basis of a short amount of time, like a week, and we had a Monday was a bank holiday, so it's only 4 days of trading. I actually also stayed flat on Thursday because no setups presented themselves, so it's actually only 3 days of trading. So my profit factor is almost 28, which is very skewed. I would say if I take the longer term, my profit factor is I think just over 1. So it's probably 1.1 or something like that, and I'm working on that. But just for the week here, it's 27.5, which is obviously, I mean, if I could do this every week, I would be in the money. My day win percent is 100%. I'll show you that in a minute in the calendar view as well. That just means that out of the 3 days that I've traded, I've been green on all of them. So that's how many of the days of the given period did you have profits. This box over here on the right is really important. That's the average win to average loss ratio. Now, this obviously also goes into your profit factor, but it's when you win, out of all the winners that you have, what is the average size of a win versus out of all the losers that you have, what is the average size of those? And then for this week, it's been really good. Normally, I'm actually a little bit to the opposite side, so I'm losing more on average than I'm winning. But for this week, it's an average, or the ratio is 5.5, which is super solid. As you can also see over the course of the week on the daily cumulative P&L, you can see it's been a really good week. I've only been trading 1, maximum 2 micros on ES, so coming out of the week with $500 of profit is actually pretty solid. Now, what TradeZella also does is it has this spider web plot down here with sort of some of the key components of measurement, you could say, in terms of your personal statistics, your personal performance. Basically, there is the win percent. So how many out of all of your trades are winners? That's also the 83% we saw up here. Profit factor, 27.5. That's the other one, and an average win, average loss. Recovery factor. I have actually to dive into this myself because I'm not entirely sure what this covers. So let me do a rain check on that. Max drawdown is basically the drawdown that you experience during trading. So when you were in trades during the week, as you can see, I'm scoring high on this because I had very little drawdown. You can also see that in a chart plot in a minute, which basically means my trades after I entered, they were pretty much in profit all of the time. My consistency is also how good am I at executing, taking profits, staying consistent. All of this translates into what TradeZella calls a seller score. Also, I have to dive a little bit more into what this actually incorporates. But simply said, a high seller score means you performed well. Normally, my seller score will be somewhere between 40 and 60 on the longer term, 40 and 70 maybe. It's very rare that I see an 88 on the Zella score, and it's also because of the short time scale and so on. This one in the middle here is the progress tracker. It's basically small tasks that I've set for myself on a daily basis. One thing is, so it's kind of like tracking whether you stick to your routine outside of trading as well as in trading. So one of the factors that I put in there is daily meditation. And blue basically means a more accentuated blue means you filled all your daily routine tasks. Dark gray is when you haven't done any of them. So I have 4 daily routine tasks, and you can see it's actually quite rare that I do them all. I have to get better at that. Often it is meditation that my daily routine or my daily work life and so on simply gets in the way. So getting that meditation in is something I rarely have the time for, which is too bad really, because it really helps me and helps ground me both when I'm in a winning streak and I'm getting overconfident, but also in a losing streak and I'm really struggling with emotions. So meditation is really key for me. But that basically tracks how good I am at sort of sticking with my routine, staying consistent, also outside of trading. Scroll down a bit. There's a lot of different stats you can see here. So the 3 trading days that I had during the week, how did my P&L distribute itself across of those? You can see a list here of the different trades that I took. That's the loser out of all of them. So you can see I kept my losers small and I kept my winners big. These 2 last ones here were blips in sort of, that was me FOMOing out really, because I did take good entries, but then I was sort of mentally not ready after the $200 win here that was related to a news trade that I did a little bit out of my sort of my comfort zone. So I jumped into these very quickly after that, and I wasn't ready for it mentally, so I just jumped out again. Account balance over here, that's a little bit arbitrary. It doesn't really reflect where I am because I have the 2 accounts and so on, so never mind that. Here you see the calendar view. This is really essential for I think for me, but also for most other traders. When in our little community, when we report on daily profits, we just post our daily profits from the calendar view here. It's a very nice and easy way to see your progress, your improvements. Are you getting more green days? Are you getting more or higher wins on your green days? Are you minimizing your red days and so on? Not only in frequency, but also in size of the losing days. And at the moment, you can see we're 3 months into the month of February, and I'm up $200. So it's been a little bit of a mixed month, but price action has also been very challenging. Down here is something really interesting. Now let me just take the full view here where you can see all my trades over the last, I think, 2.5 months. If I go down here, you can see the trade time. So you can see I'm in Central European time. So New York Open is 15:30 or 3:30 p.m. So you can see that's where I take the vast majority of my trades. And then it tapers out into the evening, which is the PM New York session. So this is where I trade. And you can see I have a few big losers, but I also have a few fairly big winners, and then it distributes itself like that. So it's, again, I'm fairly break even, so to speak, with all the trades that I've taken. I have managed to take a few trades pre-market, but that's not that was earlier on. It's not something I do anymore. On the bottom here, you can see the duration of the trade. So how successful versus unsuccessful am I in terms of how long the trade runs. And you can see at the very end of the curve here for the long hold times, that's actually losers. I have 3 losers up on this end here. It's easy to argue, and I think it's correct to argue, that these are instances where I have held on to losers hoping that they would turn around. I'd never move my stop loss in the losing direction, so it's not that, but it's simply just price action grinding its way at my drawdown, grinding its way further and further towards my stop loss, and then finally taking me out of that stop loss. I remember this 2-hour, 4-minute trade very, very vividly because I was sitting in it for so long, mentally wearing myself out. And at the end of it, once price came back out of drawdown, because my stop was actually wide enough, it came back out of drawdown, I cut it at break even, and I could have just waited a minute or 2 more. I would have cut it in profit and it would have been a winner. But whatever. I mean, this was a classic mistake, really, to see price go into drawdown, come back down to your entry level, your break even, and price did actually eventually go to my profit target, but I was so fatigued that I ended up pulling it at break even, and it shows up in my stats as a loser of $23, right? Because I pulled it a little before it went into actual break even. But this is some of the stats you can see, and some of the, the lessons that you can glean from all of these this data that TradeZella gathers from a simple import. You just press the import button, and if you're working with TradeEvade, you just have automatic syncing, so it just syncs when you do trades every day. And this is the dashboard view. So I want to show you one more thing, and this is the notebook section. Now, my notebook is structured in a way where I have end of month reviews. You can see I've done 2 of those so far. December, I didn't manage to do it, but I'm going to do February in a week or so when February ends. And these are fairly cursory, just summarizing what I've learned during the month and how the month went. Then I have my weekly reviews, breaking it down every week. That's what I do on weekends. I flick in my weekly stats here. That was what we just looked at in the dashboard. And then my markups of the trades for the week, some of the lessons learned, some good trades, some of the bad trades, and what I'm going to focus on next week. That's how I structure myself. In TradeZella, you can set up these templates, customize a template that you just copy for every day. So you do the same thing every day. And for me, it really helps to have that kind of routine going. I'm not very much of a routine person in other aspects of life, but I know it's worthwhile in trading, because it is about consistency. It is about doing the same thing over and over again. So I have to force my mind to do these things, and the templates really help me there. Now, finally, going down from week to daily, I have my daily report cards. These are structured in a way where I come in with a pre-market plan. I try never to be biased when the market opens, and not sort of be married to any specific bias. I will react to price action. But I will take notes on, okay, how was the overnight session? Did we see higher highs, higher lows? Is it uptrend? Is it downtrend? How did Asia session perform? How did London session perform before the New York? And what are we looking into? Some of the key VWAPs, how is price interacting with them? Then I have my rules, my reminders for the day. Stick to my thesis. Don't let emotions sidetrack me. Don't go long on the high of day. Don't go short on the low of day. Don't chase these FOMO breakout kind of trades. I never trade before 9:45 Eastern Standard Time because I wait for the opening range to set. That's something I learned from the Black Shirt Club, which is a really helpful piece of advice. And I do not trade from my phone. I've made too many mistakes trying to trade from my phone, so I've made it a solid rule for myself never to do that. Then I will log my trades in a table, just with a brief description of them. I will also have my markups with real-time notes on them in these callouts. So that's where I take my notes when I'm in the trade, and just after, also just prior to the trade, I do my markups like that. I've got a section for aftermarket reflections. How did the day go? How did price react? How did my trading go? What could I have done to make more profit today? That's often important. I mean, how did I manage my trades? Did I leave money on the table? Something that I could have done differently? What could I do to lose less? So that's the flip side of the other question. Should I have done something differently in that respect? I was in the BSC, the Black Shirt Club, with Austin Silver until recently. So I had notes whenever we learned something from those sessions. We had 3 sessions every week. I'm not anymore, so it's not a section that I'm filling in at the moment. And then just finally down here, an overall performance grade. What did I learn from today? What needs to be improved? Any missed opportunities and why? And I take a few notes on that. I do this every single trading day. Even if it's a flat day, or if I wasn't at my desk, I will come in, make a few notes, note why I was not trading, and be done with it, because everything needs to be journaled. It really is a key area if you want to improve on your trading, if you want to actually take your trading seriously. So I hope you got something from this. This is how I use TradeZella, and these are the sections that I use. Oh, the final one is probably the reporting. And in the report, I pretty much look at the overview here, which is just some of the key stats, like how long do I hold my winners, how long do I hold my losers, things like that. What's the maximum drawdown I've experienced, what are my average winners, and so on. Some of the key information for the accounts that I'm tracking in here. That's all of what I use in TradeZella at the moment. I can do a lot more than that. I've been doing it for 2 months, 3 months with TradeZella, so I'm still exploring the tool, and it's really, really helpful.